Hello everybody, happy Sunday. Thank you for being here. Appreciate those of you that are here in every capacity that you are able to, as always. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and put the intention up for those of you who have not seen it here yet. Here we are. Excuse me. So our intention for this week, for those of you that have not seen it yet, here on the screen, the Divine Mother speaks. The Divine Mother speaks. This is a nice one. This is one that we could probably use all the time, right? Maybe most of the intentions are phrases that we could find useful at most given times, but this is one that I feel like you can really lean into really at any time, and specifically over the next year or so as Jupiter makes its way through Cancer, one of the things that we are going to talk about here today. So for those of you that don't know, the intention is always released on Friday, so that way you have it to sit with through the weekend before we come to this meditative space together, as well as having it ahead of that weekly video that comes out Saturday for the upcoming week. So looking to set up good through the weekend for ways to contemplate, connect, and just consciously lean into and set up for the week that is coming up ahead here. All ending and culminating with our meditation here on Sunday night. So you can always find the intention on social media as well as meditativeastrology.com. Friday, later on in the day Friday, and then the weekly video released Saturday morning on YouTube there. Yeah, so we're going to sit with the intention here for just a moment, whether or not this is the first time that you've heard it. The Divine Mother speaks. So just seeing what comes up when you hear these words. Is there any feelings, any thoughts, any emotions, anything that it makes you feel like you want to do, or anything that it makes you feel like you want to resist or move away from? Just first reactions. Seems like a pretty cut and clear intention this week. Just a couple things that we are looking at. There's a few aspects that we are not going to go into here today that are kind of quick moving, so if you haven't watched that weekly video, go ahead and check back to that. So we're going to talk about the few main things that we have going on here this week. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and shift from this screen to the chart. We've been looking at this for a little while, just in the beginning, just to kind of get a picture for what's going on visually. I've said this before, but if the chart, looking at the chart is overwhelming in any way, then just skip it. Either look away from the screen or you know, close your eyes for a couple minutes and just kind of listen in. But although looking at the chart, when you first start looking at it and you don't really know what all of the glyphs mean and like where the signs are and things like that, and there's a lot going on in the chart, it can be overwhelming. But the more that you just see the charts, even if you don't feel as though you are able to really decipher it, or maybe it's a little hard to keep track of the things that I'm talking about, just seeing the chart and kind of familiarizing yourself with it, slowly it becomes less intimidating or less overwhelming in ways. So encouraging you to take a look at it in any capacity that works well for you here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up on the screen here. Okay, so this is the chart of the moment for right now, 8:36 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday night, June 8th. Now this is specific to my location, so the house placement could be different based on where you are compared to where I am in location. But we don't necessarily need to look at the house location other than to try to identify like locating where one of the signs and then the planet within that sign are. So we're just using it for locating something on the chart, not necessarily connecting the sign that you see in each house to any sort of house topic placements or anything like that. So the very first thing that I want to point out is that we have already had Mercury move into the sign of Cancer. This happened just a little while ago, within the last couple hours here. So if you look in the 8th house on this chart, If you look at that middle circle where the numbers are, find the number 8. That little section there is Cancer. You'll see the glyph for Cancer in the outer edge there. You'll see that we have Mercury at 0 degrees of Cancer here. So this is an ingress that we already had happen today. And then if we take the chart forward, I'm going to animate it here so I can move it, and we are going to step forward one day, and we're going to see that Jupiter moves into the sign of Cancer tomorrow, Monday, June 9th. So we have Mercury and we have Jupiter ingressing into the sign of Cancer this week. Now, Mercury moving through Cancer is going to move fairly quick, and it's only going to spend just a short little while there, but we have Mercury in Cancer for the next year. Mercury itself is only going to be in Cancer mostly through June. I think it's right around June 26th that Mercury moves from Cancer into Leo, but Jupiter's going to be in Cancer for about a year now. So we have a short transit as well as a longer transit here. And then the other thing that I'm going to point out that we have this week is the full moon that comes through on Wednesday. If I back this up here with the moon closer to the sun here, just a second as I adjust the chart hour by hour. Yeah, pretty close here. So full moon at 20 degrees of Sagittarius. You will see that in the 9th house, so find that number 9 in the center, and that is the sign of Sagittarius. You'll see the moon at 20 degrees. If you look just opposite in the chart, you'll find the 3rd house across from like the top to the bottom. Excuse me. You will find the sun at 20 degrees. So full moon is when the sun and the moon are always in opposition. So we have a full moon in Jupiter's sign as Jupiter is moving into the sign of Cancer. So I think that is interesting to note here and important for what we have going on this week. There's a couple sextiles and things that are going on. Mercury is going to interact with Uranus here. Mercury and Venus are interacting at the beginning of this week as well. That is coming into play now that Mercury has moved into the sign of Cancer. More on that in the weekly video, so we're not necessarily going to focus on that here. What I want to focus on this week is Mercury moving into Cancer, Jupiter moving into Cancer, and the fact that we have a full moon in Sagittarius, which is Jupiter's sign. So those are the things that I want to focus on here this week. So our intention, the Divine Mother speaks. Mercury is the planet that represents our mind, our communications, our thoughts, the way we talk with other people, the way we talk with ourselves, the way that we process information, all of those different communication things. So speaking, very mercurial, right? The sign of Cancer is the place of the moon. The sign of Cancer is the place where we find the birthing and the birthing of mankind. So when we have the space of the moon, we have the place that represents mothers and feminine figures within our lives. We have things that represent the things that have come through our experiences and through our ancestry. We have things related to the body through the moon. So sometimes when we find the sign of Cancer within our chart, there can be something related to that which affects our body as far as like conditionings or memory body and things like that. Cancer is a nurturing, caring sign. It collects and reflects based on what it collects. It brings a lot of things in. These are all things based on the moon. Cancer, as far as representing the coming into the birth of mankind and the space where we come into the body. If you think about the summer solstice, which we are going to be having come up here in a couple weeks as the sun moves into the sign of Cancer and we get a little more Cancerian energy, that is where it's the place within the solar story, within the solar year, whether or not it matches up seasonally with where you live or not, it's a symbolic story. Cancer is the place where we where the light within the solar story stops increasing. So with Aries, starting with 0 Aries, where we have the spring equinox, the light begins to increase so much that it takes over and it becomes dominant, right? So we have the birth, we have life coming back at 0 Aries. That light continues to increase through Aries, through Taurus, through the sign of Gemini. Once we get to 0 Cancer, and we get to the sign of Cancer, we're still in that period where the sun is increasing, or sorry, where the sun is dominant and it's strong, but we start to switch over to where we start slowly losing light. So we've been in this phase where within the solar story, and depending on where you live, maybe seasonally as well, the light and life and proliferation has been increasing. This is the solar half of the year. Where light is dominant from 0 Capricorn to 0 Cancer. So now we reach the place of Cancer, where the light slowly starts to descend, and we start to, if light represents life and birth and creation, and a masculine type energy or a yang type energy, then the losing of light and that descent from gaining light to slowly losing light brings us back into matter, brings us back into our experiences, brings us back into a more feminine or receptive energy or more yin energy in different ways. So you have this connection to humans and to mankind and to the birth into the body through the place of 0 Cancer, as well as the representation of the moon here. So you have this close representation to the body and to our experiences here on Earth, our experiences within this life in the sign of Cancer. So you get memory, you get ancestry, you get that where we've come from. That can be ancestral as far as genealogy and physically where you've come from before. That can be the memories and the experiences that you've had through this lifetime and maybe before that. So within the place of Cancer, within this feminine place, which it's interesting to note that on the Thema Mundi, which is the birth chart of the universe, a theoretical but symbolic chart that represents the birth of the entirety, has Cancer on the ascendant. So that's another representation and another connection of Cancer representing us within this life and within this incarnation here. So within this space, you get this feminine energy, okay? You get this connections to our relationships, our connections to our experiences, and you get a place of connecting these things together, of unifying and bringing things together, where in some more masculine type spaces or energies or yang type energies, there's more of an energy of things that which is unchanging. So you get like divine knowledge and information, and you get places excuse me, within the sun, you get our beliefs and you get our vitality and you get what we assert and the knowledge that we have within us. And in this place of Cancer, where things are much more receptive, we now have Jupiter moving into there. Jupiter representing our beliefs and our morals and that divine energy. Jupiter can often represent our religious beliefs and that which we subscribe to, and those higher principles, that higher knowledge and information. So you have Jupiter of knowledge, abundance, things that can often be solar qualities. If you look in mythology, you have Jupiter associated with Zeus, the king of the gods. So it's almost like Jupiter within its own right. Although Jupiter does really well in the sign of Cancer, Jupiter is exalted in the sign of Cancer, it's more of a masculine or yang type energy within its own right as far as what Jupiter represents within its own space. Jupiter has a masculine and a feminine domicile, so there's both principles to that, depending on the elemental quality and whatnot. When I think about just Jupiter, I think about the beliefs, and I think about that infinite knowledge, and I think about things that are unchanging and that can expand or that can add to. So when we have that coming into the place of Cancer, the place of the moon, the place that is receptive, the place that collects and brings energy together, you have this divinity coming into the space of nurturing and caring, coming into the place of the mother and mothering type energy here. And at the same time that we have Jupiter moving into the sign of Cancer, we have Mercury moving there as well. So we have the planet that allows us to speak, the planet that allows us to be heard, the planet that can convey information from one person to another as well as from one realm to another. Mercury is considered to be a psychopomp that can move between worlds. Mercury, Hermes, is the guider of souls and the messenger god, so bringing messages between the underworld and the material world, or the heavenly world and the material world. Mercury can move quickly, and we see that through the frequent phasal changes of Mercury here. So as we have Mercury and Jupiter coming into the sign of Cancer, it feels like we have a real special moment to connect to both the masculine and the feminine energy in different ways. We can bring that which we believe. We can bring the energy of the teacher, and that's what we can learn. Jupiter has a lot to do with learning and knowledge, wisdom, and really can teach us a lot of different lessons. And then we can grow and proliferate from the things that we learn through Jupiter. So it's a very forward type energy. In the sign of Cancer, it's bringing all of that stuff in, but bringing it through in a watery, Cancerian, lunar type of way. So how can we care for the knowledge and the information that we have? How can we care for the tender spaces of our own as well as for others? How can we look at the fluctuations of life, the changing circumstances, and the different scenarios that we find ourselves in, the different predicaments and the different fluctuations of energy? How can we lean into that and learn something from that over the next year? Over the next year with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, it would be a really, really good time to kind of like start tracking the moon phases, if that's something that you've been interested in, maybe haven't done, or looking at expanding that practice some way and really bringing the knowledge and the information of what the different phases represent, and then looking at that in a little bit more of a receptive way, a little bit more of a, so bringing that masculine energy of the knowledge and the information, and then seeing how it resonates within your own life and seeing how it plays out with the different circumstances and the different events and the different experiences, and bringing those two energies together. I think at the outset of Jupiter in the sign of Cancer here, with Mercury moving into Cancer at the same time, it's an extra moment of being able to connect in a very communicative and maybe emotionally understanding type way, if that kind of makes sense a little bit here. We have the next year of Jupiter being in the sign of Cancer, being able to learn from the goddess, being able to learn from the feminine energy, being able to be receptive to maybe some of the subtler, a little bit more quiet or introverted energies around us, and then seeing where we can grow from that. Because remember, Jupiter brings growth and abundance and proliferation, is a very generous planet. Cancer can be a generous sign as well, as wanting to care for and nurture our own spaces as well as others' spaces too. So we're really at a good space where we can bring those things together and really learn from our experiences and the different reflections that we can have, especially where Cancer is within your own chart. Take a look at that house, that whole sign house as well as the topics that represent that. So it's, yeah, I really feel like coming through this week here, especially as we come into the full moon. The full moon's in the sign of Sagittarius, so it is broadening horizons, it's expanding, it is optimistic and wanting to experience things within its own right, right? The energy is high. It's a full moon, so we are at the height, the culmination of the lunar cycle here. That full moon in Sagittarius is in Jupiter's sign. It's in Jupiter's masculine domicile too. So when we think about Sagittarius, we think a lot about philosophies. We think a lot about the experiences and the knowledge and the information that we learn from that, and what we can put out into the world and what we can bring in from that. There's a lot of that in the sign of Sagittarius too. There's a lot of creativity that can come from the different beliefs and things that we have in the sign of Sagittarius. So I feel like that just ups this Jupiterian energy that we have here at the beginning of the week. So I like this. I'm excited for this. For the meditation this week, the Divine Mother Speaks. I want to really tap into that feminine energy. I really want to tap into bringing energy into our being, however that plays out for you, and then releasing that and allowing it to flow where it's meant to go. So bringing in knowledge, bringing in energy, bringing in information, and then allowing that to flow, bringing in some sort of balance, and allowing that to go wherever it needs to go. So it may feel a little less specific here this week, but it's really just about flowing energy. And I encourage you to bring a part of what to bring into your practice here, as well as take it forward from this moment and bring it into, you know, your week, as well as this entire Jupiter in the sign of Cancer transit that we have here, of just being receptive to the energies around you, and considering things, slowing down a little bit, and seeing if we can pay attention to the more quiet spaces, whatever that means for you, and see if we can find a place where we can tend to something that is growing there, something that may need a little bit of care and a little bit of attention and a little bit of nurturing, but it can grow with Jupiter there at the same time. So yeah, it's interesting energy, but I really like where we're going here with this energy. Again, Jupiter in Cancer is a year-long transit, so we are going to be in the space of learning from the feminine, yin, receptive, flowing, harmonious energy that is feminine energy. And it's going to play out for lots of people in different ways, but yeah, it's exciting because we've had Jupiter in Gemini for the last year, which is a very, very busy place. You can get good communications with Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, but it's not the easiest place for Jupiter to be, and it can be really busy. It can feel really chaotic, and it can feel like there's a lot of thoughts and a lot of things, a lot of different moving parts all at one time with Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. Now Jupiter's going to move into sign of Cancer, and it's going to slow down a little bit. It's going to give us a place where maybe we can breathe just enough to be able to sit back and to be a little bit more receptive to what is around us here. So yeah, that is the energy that I want to pull into this week. And the cards that I pulled for this week, the tarot card is the Six of Pentacles, which I thought was pretty spot on for talking about this feminine energy, because when I think of the Six of Pentacles, I think of Earth, I think of the material world, and I think of abundance, I think of people, I think of gratitude, and I think of generosity. I think of having plenty enough to share with others, and that's what feminine energy is it's not pressing itself upon like masculine energy does. You know, like think about the sun versus the moon, right? The sun being the yang or the masculine energy. With the sun, it can be very overpowering when it's out, right? When the sun is out, you know that the sun is out. When the moon is out, sorry, when the sun is out, it always looks exactly the same too, right? Like you might have clouds that are covering it, but that's something different. The sun, when the sun is up in the sky, it always is shining with the same illumination. Like it doesn't get any darker. Again, clouds might be covering it, but the sun is still there. The sun is unchanging, and the sun is very powerful. The sun can burn our skin, right, if we don't protect ourselves from it. The moon is much more subtle. The moon changes. Sometimes you can see the moon big and bright. Sometimes you have to look for it a little bit because it kind of changes where it's at in the sky, or it changes how bright it is. So it's a much more subtle guiding energy. You don't get sunburn from the moonlight, right? You get spaces where some things are lit up more than others, and there's a gentle guiding of the moonlight versus the sunlight. So the moon having that generous energy of sharing and giving, but not in a overpowering way. It's more of an offering rather than a suggesting type way. And that's what I think of when I think of the Six of Pentacles. I think of offering a token of generosity of some kind. I think of giving what you have extra of and being generous with it and allowing that to nurture the spaces that it needs to, and caring enough for others to share what you have collected and what you have, which is very, very lunar. The sun, the moon collects the light from the sun, and then it shines it down upon the earth. That's why we have the different moon phases, right? Because it depends on where the moon is based on position with the sun. So I thought the Six of Pentacles was very appropriate for the feminine energy, as well as what I was thinking of bringing into the meditation this week, of bringing energy in and sharing it out with the spaces that need it, with the world, and with others that need the healing. So this meditation is going to be a little bit more kind of like how they started. If you were here, gosh, like 3 years ago when we started doing these meditations, before I came totally out about the astrology that was behind it and stuff like that. So yeah, we have the Six of Pentacles, and then I felt like I wanted to pull an oracle card because it had been a while, and glad that I did, because we have the Earth Guardian. So we're not necessarily talking about the earth element, but the Earth Guardian, stay rooted and stay grounded. And when I think of, well, I mean, I guess the Six of Pentacles with the earth makes sense because of the material world, but it's what it was making me think of was just being so secure in your own foundation. Jupiter is optimistic as well as generous. Jupiter is not wishy-washy. Jupiter believes what it believes, and we can change our beliefs, but our convictions typically within the Jupiterian things are strong. We stand for something. We stand against something. Usually they're not wishy-washy. So staying rooted and grounded, but staying rooted and grounded while also having the Six of Pentacles here at the same time. So it's staying grounded and firm and staying strong in what we have in our own resources to be able to share that with others. So wondering how that's going to show up for folks here through this Jupiter transit. So yeah, I when we say connecting to the Divine Mother, there's other terms that you could use if for some reason that does not resonate well with you. Often when I invoke God energy, for lack of a better term, I personally usually say Father, Mother, God. That is just kind of what has resonated with me for quite some time, because that masculine and that feminine energy, they really come together in different ways. So, the Divine Mother energy can be the guiding nurturing, caring energy within ourselves. It can be an external source that guides you in a lovingly, motherly type way. It can be, it can be just the general feminine energy that is around us. It can be those ancestors that are guiding us from the other side. That's very, very lunar and very Cancerian as well. So there's a wide variety, and again, as always, changing the intention to whatever works well and resonates well for you. Cancer being the place of the moon, the place of the goddess, the place that is on the ascendant in the Thema Mundi, the birth chart of the universe, of creation. Feels like a space of being, is a space of being birthed into creation, being birthed into the material world. We think about that light changing over from light gaining to light losing. So we're coming from the higher realms and maybe the heavenly world, whatever the immortal world is, into the mortal world, from the place of gods to the place of mankind. And we are all born, no matter what our relationship is, and no matter whatever the circumstances around the term mother for us, we are all birthed into this world through a womb. Cancer is the womb of the zodiac. Think of that being the place of the birthplace. The ascendant on the Thema Mundi. The first house is the place that represents you, and only specifically you, because it's that which is being birthed over the eastern horizon at the time that you were born. What was being born into this world at the time you were born? You were being born into this world. So that's where you get that first house, and we get Cancer right there. So you have these correlations between Cancer and the birthplace. So, thinking about, what do you want to birth over the next year? What do you want to midwife into creation, into this material world here? And how can Jupiter help you there? What lessons are you going to learn along the way? There's lots to contemplate with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. And I could keep talking about it for a really long time, but we better move into our meditation before I do talk too long here. So, really cool energy that I'm bringing into our meditation here this week. And again, energy that you can bring into this entire Jupiter transit. Looking for a little bit of flow here with the energy this week. I'm going to go ahead and take the intention down here in just a moment. So go ahead and take a look at that one last time if you need to. The Divine Mother speaks. The Divine Mother speaks. All right, so I'm going to move the intention down, and we have several feminine figures on the altar here that I collected from around my house today. Different feminine idols and things like that we have here. We have a couple different Mary statues. We have the triple goddess here. We have a beautiful angel statue. The little bird that I have over here, you all have seen this before. This was my grandmother's, so she's definitely a divine mother guiding source for me on the other side. So I brought that into it, and then this cross here was knitted by a wonderful woman as well. Lots of feminine energy on the altar here, and looking for their guidance tonight as we move through our meditation here. Okay, so we're going to move into our meditation. We have our intentional candle. As always, it is white, clarity, cleansing, purity. There is white sage oil in these candles, so there's an extra level of clearing and cleansing, creating a blank slate for whatever you need to bring into this week. It can be something different for each and every one of us here. So I'm going to go ahead and light the intentional candle, and as I do so, I'm going to recite the intentional phrase. I'm going to light the intentional candle. Flame's going to ignite. As the flame ignites, flame begins to grow. As the flame grows, so does our intention. The Divine Mother speaks. The Divine Mother speaks. As we come into our meditation this week, we are not here to push or assert anything. We are here to allow the energy to flow. We are here to be receptive to what comes in. We are here to move slowly and gently as we need to. We are here to care for our own tender spaces, as well as others if we have the space and the capacity to do so. As we come into our meditation, I encourage you to find a nice, comfortable seated position if you haven't already. And if you're ready to do so, feel free to go ahead and close your eyes. If you're not quite ready to do so, then perhaps you can soften your gaze and just allow your eyes to fall where they fall, perhaps not staring intently towards any one specific thing, but maybe just allowing your gaze to kind of fall beyond an object in front of you. And here, as we come into our place of meditation, we start by settling into the silence around us. Now perhaps the level of silence for each and every one of us is different than the next person attending this meditation. Perhaps some of us have complete silence. Perhaps some of us have some noises, background noises, clear noises, quiet noises, loud noises. Settling into this space of quietness in whatever capacity that you are able to at this moment. Not requiring anything else from yourself other than settling into this space. Some of us may be more comfortable with the silence than others. That's okay. Be easy on yourself. If your mind begins to wander, or you start to feel distracted, gently bring your attention back to where you are. As you settle in, you may notice that your attention automatically goes to your breath. Perhaps you start to notice the inhales and the exhales. Perhaps you start to notice the quality of your breath at this moment. As your attention moves towards your breath, I encourage you to acknowledge and observe the breath. But let's attempt to not change or alter the breath as much as we possibly can. As you inhale, acknowledge the way the air enters your body naturally. Notice the rhythm, notice the speed, notice the strength, notice the depth, the filling of your lungs. And as you acknowledge, to the best of your abilities, attempt to not pass any judgment on the quality of your breath. Same thing on the exhale. Begin to notice the air moving from your lungs back up and out of your body, and just noticing the natural route that it takes, either through your nose or your mouth. Notice if it feels like all of the air makes its way out of your lungs, or if it feels like you're still retaining a good amount of air. Notice the speed, notice the efficiency. Notice how that release feels. Continuing this process of listening to the inhales and the exhales, noticing and observing for a few rounds of breath. If you notice your mind wandering, your attention becoming distracted from the breath, gently bring your attention back, slowly and easily. This is a nice, gentle, easy meditation today. I suppose easy is a relative term. After you've taken a few rounds of breath, just sitting with where your energy is at the moment, where the quality of your breath is that you came to this meditation with, we begin to slowly deepen the breath. Here, I encourage you to guide the breath without pushing or forcing the breath. So we encourage each inhale to be slightly deeper, slightly longer, bringing in slightly more air than the one before it. And as we slowly flow along through the inhale, we make our way to the exhale. When we begin to release the breath, we guide the exhale ever so slowly and gently, allowing it to release slightly more air, slightly more energy than the exhale that came before it. Slowly and gently, you follow the rhythm of your breath, breathing in and out, inhaling and exhaling, guiding and encouraging without pushing or forcing the breath. Each inhale slightly deeper than the one before it, each exhale slightly deeper than the one that came before that. This week, as Mercury and Jupiter move from the sign of Gemini into the sign of Cancer, into the womb of the zodiac, into a place where they can be cared for and nurtured. Mercury allows us to speak for those that cannot speak for themselves. Mercury allows us to speak up for ourselves, what we need, what we feel. Jupiter, the teacher, the knowledge, the wisdom, the generous giver, moves into the temple of the moon, the place where knowledge is collected through Jupiter, the place of felt experiences and that which is cultivated as a result of it. Where we find Cancer in our chart, there is a memory body that potentially expands beyond our current situation and perhaps our current lifetime. The moon collects the energy and the light of the sun, and then it distributes it to the earth, allowing us to see in the darkness, allowing that which is subtle, quiet, and slow moving to be seen and to be guided. And just as the moon does, we too can gently collect energy, experiences, tools, resources that which can aid ourselves and aid others. And we too can distribute that energy. Whether that's caring for our literal children, whether that's tending to our own emotions and the emotional needs of others, whether that's just holding space for those that need space held for them, ourselves and others both included. So as we cultivate this energy, this growing energy within our own being during meditation, as we cultivate a life force and a vitality within us, as we breathe in, as we breathe out, cleansing our own energy, purifying it, which allows it to build. Just as the new moon each month clears the moon for a new place and a new space of growth, we too can collect new energy and disperse it where it's most needed. And the beautiful thing about the moonlight is that it doesn't have to be directed into one specific space. The moonlight scatters and dances across all of the land, sharing it wherever it needs to go and wherever it naturally goes. Perhaps some areas are protected from the moonlight, perhaps others are more open and ready to accept the moonlight. I like to think of dispersing our own energetic energy in a similar fashion. We bring the energy into our being, we disperse it generously, as the Six of Pentacles shows. And we stay grounded and rooted in knowing the fact that that energy will go where it needs to. This is the beauty of group healing, sending energy to those that need it. You can think specifically, or you can just allow it to flow where it goes. Today, there are many places within the earth that need love and guidance, that need the Divine Mother to speak in tender, caring ways. We may know people and circumstances in our own lives that could use the tender, nurturing guidance of that which is the divine, feminine, motherly energy that is around us all. So as you take your next deep breath in, bringing energy into your being, filling your lungs, filling your soul, filling your being with all this beautiful energy that you've collected. And as you exhale, you release it out into the ethers around you. And perhaps you allow that energy to just go where it flows, or perhaps you direct it towards a specific person or situation. Next deep breath in, filling up your lungs, filling up your being with this beautiful, beautiful life-giving energy. Your vitality skyrockets. You feel your energy increasing. Perhaps you feel a buzzing within your body or some other sensation connecting you and alerting you of the energy that is within. And as that energy builds and as it grows, perhaps your abdomen swells just as the full moon does, just as the womb of a mother that is carrying a child that is full term. You are full with that beautiful, life-giving, creational energy. And as we exhale, we release and distribute that energy around us, allowing it to go and flow where it needs to go, and directing it gently if we so choose to. Next deep breath in, bringing in that beautiful air, and on the release, perhaps you redirect your focus of the energy just slightly. Now, as we are sharing and dispersing this energy, as the Divine Mother within each and every one of us speaks, it is important to remember the self. It is important not to get too caught up in the dispersing and the sharing of the energy, but to also share that energy with ourselves. So as you take your next deep breath in, filling up your body with that beautiful energy, you are full and fulfilled. You feel strong and supported. And as you move into the exhale, you release the breath, but you do so with an intention of the energy washing over your own being. And as you exhale, you feel that energy that is coming out of your being instantly begin to rain down upon your being. Perhaps you feel it as literal raindrops washing over you. Perhaps it's a misty fog. Perhaps it's a cool air. But you feel that same energy that you shared outwardly with others, washing over you and caring for you in the same way. One thing Jupiter in Cancer may teach us about is the necessity of self-care. True self-care that increases our own energy and lifts us up in one or more ways. And as the moon moves through the last degrees of Scorpio, another feminine, watery place, and then moves into the sign of Sagittarius, setting us up for our full moon this week, setting us up for a height of Jupiterian energy. Not to mention that Jupiter has resets coming, we'll be talking about soon. There is a divine motherly energy in each and every one of us. She has a voice, and she can be heard. Today, at the end of our meditation, I bring my hands together in prayer, plugging them into my heart space, bowing my head, chin to chest, fingers come to my third eye. And I bow and honor the divine energy that is within and surrounding each and every one of us. This week, Jupiter enters the place that births, the place that guides, and the place that midwives that which is coming into being, that which is coming into creation. What do you want to create? What do you want to usher in while tenderly and caringly nurturing and tending to it? Lift up those prayers and thoughts to the divine energy that is around us. And just as the moonlight scatters and disperses where it needs to go, lift these intentions up and allow them to disperse and flow where they need to flow. And with that, we take one last deep breath in together. Exhale. Felt good, so I'm going to do one more. Feel free to join me. Breathing in and out. Thank you, thank you, thank you, each and every one of you that have joined me here today and any day in the future. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support and your tender, caring, nurturing energy to these spaces that are being tended to here. I hope everybody has a wonderful, lovely week. I hope that there is optimism. I hope there is expansion. I hope there is a place of tender, quiet growth. I hope that whatever you need this week is what comes your way. Looking in the comments, I did not do that earlier. Hello, Nikita. Hello, Melissa. Appreciate those of you showing up. Yes, good energy coming, feeling the full moon energy. Hello, hello, hello to both of you and to everybody else that is joining us. Again, if you have not watched the weekly video, go ahead and check that out. Next Friday, you can find our intention for the following week. Saturday, the weekly video will be out. And I will see you back here next Sunday night for our meditation, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Next weekend is Father's Day here in the United States. So for those of you that might not be able to join for that reason, remember that you can always find the replay on YouTube. So yeah, I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and I will see you all next week. Yeah, have a good one.